Welcome everyone to the last installment of the Get Clarity Challenge. This is the last announced one. We might do a follow-up in a few weeks just to see how you were doing with this challenge. So with the Get Clarity Challenge, what we did was we wanted to make sure that we had clarity before taking action. We were looking at our premises, our vision, our purpose before choosing strategies. And also, after choosing the strategies or the projects or the actions, we were mindful and enjoying, every action we take. So the first 3 sessions were about getting that clarity, decluttering our mind, having a plan in place so we know where we're going. And then last session, we talked about taking action, effortless action, and just enjoying what we're doing. With this final session, what we want to do is kind of take those actions that we're taking and review them, see what we learned, celebrate the big and small wins, and just optimize our systems, optimize and become better and more effortless, like our actions become more effortless, and we kind of get to enjoy the journey more and more and more. So this time, Michael's going to help me with this one. He's going to talk about how we celebrate our wins and all the things I just mentioned previously. So without further ado, Michael, give us a small introduction about yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. So my name is Michael Danklefs. I call myself a life vision outfitter. I do life coaching around using the lifebook process as well as other techniques as well. I'm from the Northeast part of the United States, and I've been working with the lifebook framework since 2019 and got introduced to Notion at the beginning of 2020. The beginning of 2021. And that really kind of led me to expanding on what some of my tools were. So that's one of the things I'm going to be touching on, as well as a couple of other things on this idea of moving from not only the planning and the decluttering, but then once we've actually taken that information, we've taken those actions, what's the next step? So to kind of go over the agenda that I'm going to be covering today is I'm going to be talking about sharing in the celebration. I'm going to be talking about learning from history, or you're going to be doomed to repeat it. Having a system, an introduction to something called a CPRA, the ideas of internal versus external appreciation, and then lastly, I'm going to be asking for some feedback on how this landed for everybody. So I really wanted to discuss this because it's one of the pillars of my coaching practice, which in sequence, that is preparation, commitment, accountability, and last is celebration. For me, that is really the review and extracting the lessons that we've actually gained by what we've done. So it's great to take action. It's great to actually be moving in a particular direction, but then we really need to, celebrate our wins. So I'd like everyone who's here to please type one of your wins into the chat. In the last week would be preferred. Is what is one thing that you did really well that you want to celebrate that you accomplished? It can be related to your life book. It can be related to your larger goals. I'm just curious about what some of the wins are that you want to celebrate today. Just giving somebody a little bit of time here. So for me, the one thing that I like to celebrate today is that I have recovered from COVID, which wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. But at the same time, it's something that I'm glad that I've been able to go through and experience. So then for me, it's done and out of the way. So it certainly slowed me down while I was actually experiencing it and the various things that I was actually, looking to accomplish. But it also had me slow down and take inventory of where I was and what needed to get done still got done versus all the other noise that can happen. So I have Sandy typing in the chat here that she had so much fun doing the daily challenges and she never thought it could be creative. We have Anna, I had to move and organize to help support for my emotional problems, or more than 10,000 steps a day. That's awesome. And having joined a fitness program for Marcia, finished a course in the copy editing with much better results than I expected because I'm working full-time while studying. I certainly get that, Natalie. So my coaching business is above and beyond what I do for a programming job, which is a full-time job. It can definitely be awesome when you can celebrate those wins that are outside of the scope of what you're doing on a regular basis. Run a household, work a 9-to-5 job, have a great social life, walk 10,000 steps, and do multiple workshops each week. You are an achiever. That's awesome. My first gut reaction would just say overachiever, but I want to say that that's being an achiever, especially in the lifebook community where we are living a 12 category smart life. Is, to me, that is one of those things that we get to celebrate when we make those accomplishments. But it's great to have done those things, to have accomplished and checked the box, and can seem really robotic when you just check the box of yes, that's done. But for me, we need to learn from that history or we're doomed to repeat it. Is taking that, from the wins as well as the failures is what is the lesson we extract from it, and really kind of playing with that. So then we don't end up going through the motions of doing the same thing over and over again, where we can then be expanding and growing. I know that this community is definitely a growth community, but some of what I'm going to be talking about here is having a system and tools in order to get you there. I'm going to suggest some options here. And for me, it's more a matter that you find a tool that works best for you. Create a system that works best for you, rather than just incorporating the system or tool from someone else. It's a great place to learn how someone else does it, but be a student, not a follower. So for me, having that system started with creating and building templates in Notion, this tool of a workspace where you can actually put pieces together. For other people, that system is actually having a physical written notebook, or bought a journal that's a gratitude journal from online that has prompts and questions that are going to get them there. Each of those is a very good system if you use it. So making it as easy for you to engage with to reduce the friction is going to be really important. So we get to this place where we are celebrating the wins and extracting the lessons to move forward. It's that, best laid plans never survive first contact with the enemy. Well, we need to actually pick out those lessons of what things were successful. What things do we need to change and tweak when we are going to be facing that challenge again? So for me, I know that Anna Kelian uses Coda as her tool that she uses to collect information. And like I said, for me, it's Notion. There's others out there: Obsidian, Evernote, Word documents, an email that you send to yourself every day, Post-it notes. Pick something that allows you to keep and access that information whenever you need it the most. So, like I said, I got introduced to Notion at the beginning of last year, and just that introduction led me to then take what is in my book of my life book, the physical book, and put it into a digital system. And then I connect all of my pieces to it. If it is a gratitude practice, if it is my funnel of focus for my goals, my 12 sacred choices, all of those are then centralized in one place. So that's why the system is so important to me. I probably have half a dozen journals or notebooks or diaries spread throughout the house, but can I tell you which one has that one thought that I had 6 months ago about my business or about my love relationship? Probably not. My brain doesn't actually catalog things that way. But instead, I've then used Notion as my tool to get there. The other system that I wanted to introduce here as well around this idea of getting clarity is, I know that the lifebook process, the PVPS process, works really well for creating a life vision. It's awesome to have those list of goals. So you have your premise, your vision, your purpose, and your strategy. And sometimes you need something that's a little bit more direct about a particular event, a conversation, a workshop, as an example. And for me, I use something called a CPRA. It's oddly enough, the letters are out of order because it actually starts by creating the results you want to create, followed by the purpose you want to create those, the context you're going to hold, and then your action plan to deliver to create those results. There is a flow for this, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up around celebration, is that you start off with this process of doing your homework. It's figure out what is the problem you're looking to create. So for me, I took, for this particular workshop, I took the summary that Anna and I had written up about what this workshop was about. That was my homework. Then I listed out the results I was looking to create for this workshop. Why did I want to create it? And then what is the context? So what is the battle cry, the catchphrase, the title that will help remind you to come back to why you're creating this in the first place? What because it's, once again, it's about taking actions that are going to help us learn, going to help us expand on what we're doing to find growth, to get towards that overriding goal or that life vision. And then once you have all of that, you've actually then created action items that are going to lead you there. Is that a question you're going to ask? Is it an idea you're going to present? Is it a specific movement you're going to do? Are you going to encourage someone else to help you with it? Are you delegating this out if it's actually a larger meeting? And then you go and execute on it. You have this execution phase where you use that as your agenda item list. But the one piece that people tend to forget the most often is the last step. It's review. Did your actions you took create the results that you're aiming for? All three phases of those are so important. We've already talked about decluttering. We've talked about getting focused. We're talking about planning. And it's the piece that I thought was missing here, is let's review. Did we actually accomplish what we're looking for? So I'm curious for people here is, when was the last time you went back and reviewed your progress towards one of your goals in your life book? Are you on a cadence with an accountability group or personally? Did you do the 2022 Start Strong Challenge? When was the last time you really went back and reviewed your sacred choices or your action items and your goals and how close you were to getting on them? I'm really curious. You could either do a thumbs up in the reactions here on whether you did it, or a thumbs down if you didn't, or tell me the last time that you really sat down and looked at those goals and whether the action items you're taking, the steps you're moving towards, are getting you to those goals. It can be easy to step back and say, yeah, I've got these huge goals and this huge vision. If I don't have measurable progress I'm going to make, part of that action and plan phase, and then know when you cross the finish line. How do you know when to celebrate? How do you know when it's time to recover? Because recovery many times is just as important as the go, go, go time of executing on that particular plan. You look at the flow states, there's this struggle, struggle, struggle. You're in flow, and then there's this crash afterwards where you have to recover. Well, you have to go, 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 go till you achieve what? And then we celebrate and recover on the other side. So that's one of the things that for workshops like this, or meetings with work, or going to a conference, or having that conversation with a boss or a loved one that is something that you're resisting, is a good place to actually put a plan in place. Maybe even define what the potential obstacles are as part of that plan, so you have a plan for them before you tackle them. But this review process is when we suck out the essence of why were we there. Gotcha. So Anna's talking about when she does a review, she notices when she's taking essential action. So being productive versus when you're doing busy work, which is going in circles, doing those non-essential things. It's that idea of, if you're on a rocking horse, you may be moving a lot, but you're not going anywhere. And there's ways that we can engage in one versus the other. And some of those, that busy work stuff is necessary to get done, but we don't want it to overwhelm with everything that we're doing. So I see Natalie's talking about, only 4 months in, you're continually reviewing your actions by tracking your sacred choices, but looking to see how the bigger picture unfolds. And it's one of the challenges with this process. I know that we've had some people talking in the chat recently is, I keep reviewing this big vision for my life and I keep revising this big vision. When am I going to stop revising the big vision? Oddly enough, at least for me, I haven't stopped revising the big vision, but I do it one category at a time. I do it at one piece at a time, because if I try to do 12 things at once, it really is that whole concept in essentialism of you're trying to go 12 directions at once, which means you go nowhere, or you just have a scribble in this. So I very much have appreciated looking at each of the categories of each month, like we do in the Lifebook community, of let's focus on intellectual for this month, like Anna's been really pushing for in this month, is let's do a deep dive and learn the best that we can about this particular category and revise and change and check our progress. And then we can actually put that on the shelf and keep our sacred choices. That's going to keep that at a hum, keep that at a review. So we are still celebrating the wins we make in progress there, but then we can actually do this deep dive in the next category of emotional, which is coming up just in a week or so. And yes, Marcia, looking at your quarterly goals helps with that too. And it's great that you have that as part of a review process. For me this year, in 2022, is when I started really doing a weekly review, is looking at my goals that I've made for a week, review then and extract out not just, how things went, but it's kind of this, I took it the reverse actually from the funnel of focus, because I started off with a daily review. That's why this system is kind of important for me, is I've drilled it down to one of my sacred habits is to do a daily review, which includes 6 questions. What did I do really well today? What could have I improved on? Whose day did I make better? What did I do that was uncomfortable? What will I apply in the next day that I learned from today? I don't remember what the 6th one is now off the top of my head. But building this in as a system that you approach every day. And then in Notion, there's the ability for us to do templates. So I've got that built in a template that I actually extract and then answer those questions for the day. And it's not something I take 45 minutes, an hour to do. It's not something that is that busy work like Anna was talking about. I take probably between 3 and 5 minutes and give my first gut reaction, because that is where my intuition tends to kick in without overthinking it. And then, yes, I can type those questions into the chat here. So once I've then done my daily review, I then summarize that for the day. And then on the weekly, once again, I extract out the key nuggets, those things that were the big movement things that I actually have learned in the most recent week. I've also then started to do a monthly review to the same thing, but this isn't intending to add us more busy work. That's really not what the intention here is with this. It's a matter of let's save ourselves time later by extracting out the wisdom for right now. And that's whenever I talk about kind of having the right system to pull that off. So I've taken the questions and put them here in the chat so that people can review them.
Can I mention something here, Michael, while we're putting in the questions? If I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think my internet's...
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hope my internet helps. I just wanted to make a point about the review process and systems.
Go ahead.
Can you all hear me? Yeah, I hope you hear me. So I wanted to say that it's really important and really great to have systems, but be mindful that not to make them become mechanical, so that it becomes like a chore or a boring thing you need to do. And as Michael was saying, like busy work. What I do with reviews is it didn't work for me for a while because that's what it became. I'm like, another thing I need to do at the end of the day or at the end of the week. So what I did, I converted them to rituals. Now, the difference between rituals and routines is that a routine kind of ritual is the highest level of routine, where you're actually enjoying and engaging with what you're doing. So what I do is basically I just go somewhere to do the review, the weekly review, and I just buy something that I like to drink or eat, and I just think about the week or the month. And the reason I do that is, and I remind myself, is because, as Michael was saying, I'm investing a bit of time now so that I don't regret that I spent the last week or month or year on things that move me away from my life vision or my goals. So I see the benefit of doing that review, and I'm really enjoying that moment when I'm doing this review. I'm celebrating, just like Michael said, basically everything Michael's talking about today. It's something I do as a ritual at the end of the week or the month. Of course, the daily reviews are things I do with questions similar to what Michael shared, but different ones. But the weekly and the monthly, you really want to make them into something you enjoy doing and they don't become mechanical.
Thank you, Anna, for that. And that's to me is kind of where the next phase of this actually kicks in. Is yes, the rituals of actually, reducing the friction in some ways around doing this review process, knowing that there's going to be benefit in the immediate future as well as in the long-term future. But then when we take it to the next level is when we start applying gratitude and appreciation to it. We actually build that into a gratitude practice of thank you to myself because I've taken these actions that's going to move me closer to my life vision. But there's also this other thing of this external appreciation that's necessary as well, is thanking those people that have helped us along in this journey. And being very specific about that. If it's actually a client, if it's a family member, if it's a friend, is explicitly say, thank you very much. It's a way, in some ways for me, and it's why this is related to me around this, is it's a way to celebrate with that person the growth that you've taken and acknowledging them for their contribution to it. And sometimes it is, thank you for being an example of what I don't want to be. And sometimes it is, thank you very much for showing me a way that this could be done in a different way. And that to me is appreciation. Yet it may sound a little backhanded when you say, thank you for being an example of what I don't want to be. But it's a contrast thing. It's how do I know if I'm going in the right direction? It tends to be when we check in with ourselves and how we feel about it and what we're actually experiencing in totality with those first 5 categories is whether we're on the right track or not. And many times we need to come up against something that slows us down, friction, or come up against someone who's doing it a different way to show us either a way that resonates more with us or doesn't. So that I think is kind of that next flavor, and it's a way that we can then pass on what we have learned as well. Sometimes it may be by writing a post online and social media of the lesson we've learned by it. Is where do we then apply that lesson? Who do we then teach that to? Who do we share that knowledge with? And applying it back and saying, thank you, the universe, thank you, God, thank you, the force, thank you, whatever it is that you are thanking for your progress towards your goals. Because I don't think that there's ever something that's bad that happens to you specifically. It tends to be that we're making choices and we're either moving away from our goal or moving towards our goal. And it's all based on our choices. And that really is this self-actualized life that John and Missy talk about so often, is all the choices that we've made have led us to this point. In Jack Canfield's success principles, the first one is take 100% ownership of your life. Good, bad, or indifferent, your choices have led you to here. So how do we then make the choices that have led us to here to extract out the lesson so we know what to do or not to do in order to move our lives forward? So once again, I'm curious, is if you were to be able to express gratitude to someone right now for a lesson that they've taught you in this last week, who would that be? And I would challenge you to actually share that appreciation with them individually, uniquely, and distinctly for what they have done with and for you. Any thoughts here for those who are attending of the person that you'd want to say thank you to? I appreciate you for being this way. Because oddly enough, life is a team sport. So I've taken a lot out of the idea of being on a team. It's what is that? It's an Ngambe quote of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So, and it's one thing I really appreciate about the Lifebook community is that it is a solid community helping others to go further in their lives. There's very little competition. There's very little ego that I've run into in this community, because it's really about truly co-elevating people. So in this idea of celebration, Anna was able to kind of talk about her process of, let's not make this into a routine, a robotic action, but into a ritual, a place to bring more intense focus. What are your practices that you use to celebrate? I'd love for some of you to unmute and actually tell us about your celebration practices. Like, what does that look like for you? If you want, you can hit the raise hand button and bring you up onto stage and tell us, or raise your hand physically. Or unmute. Nice. So Sandy talks about walking on the beach. That's a great action to reward yourself. That's one of those things that I really didn't touch on a little bit. So thank you for bringing that up, is that celebration can be a reward for yourself. And if it's a walk on the beach, that's beautiful. It's one of those things that support so many of our categories versus I ate my diet this past week, let's have a piece of cake. Not necessarily the best reward for, making those hard choices. But anyone else who here has a particular way that they reward themselves or celebrate progress on your goals, progress on those actions that you're taking every day to move towards your life vision? Anyone? Anna, is there any particular way that you celebrate your wins? You said that you're doing a review process, you make it into a ritual.
Yeah.
How do you reward yourself?
Yeah, it depends on what I'm celebrating. So usually my personal wins, like the reviews, I do that alone. As I said, I go to somewhere I like. It might be most times one of the balconies in our house with a very nice view of the mountain and the sea and trees and birds, which is what I love. And most of the time, if it's something that like a raise from my job or a promotion, I would actually invite my family out for dinner, and we would go to a fancy restaurant, somewhere we won't go usually, just to kind of and I love what you said earlier, like I celebrate with the people who supported me. So that's why I want to invite them, which is what I love doing. But yeah, usually it's that. And the minor daily, this is something I just realized when you were saying the minor daily wins is that if I did all the things that I wanted to do today, and I'm feeling really kind of proud of myself, let's say, with what I achieved in the day, I would, instead of resting for awkward reasons, I would actually just go out and either go walk on the beach somewhere, or at night. Actually, I love beach walks at night. Or I would go out with some friends and would just celebrate as well, like just talk and walk and things like that. I think like I would kind of want to end my day with where I touched all 12 categories in some way, so sort of.
Nice. Thank you for that, Anna. And somebody actually wrote in the chat here too, is that celebration is something that needs to be learned, and to do more is rewarding themselves. There's one of the men that I've worked with on a men's team, and he's like adamant against celebration in many ways. And it's like, because, you know, in the doing is where you get to celebrate. And it's like, but then you don't make space for that. You don't actually, there's a different energy of that slowing down to take stock of where you're at, to take, you know, be aware of where you're at in what you're doing, and knowing how far you've come, I think is really important. Anna, did you have something to share with us? The other Anna?
Well, I can just say that well, I joined Nightbook only like a few months ago, and I did the challenge, and on the challenge there was a section celebrations and wins, and I just discovered how much fun it is. And thanks to that, I allowed myself to really fully enjoy, because generally I always I was feeling guilty when I was enjoying things, like, oh, I should be working, maybe I shouldn't be enjoying. And now I actually just booked a ticket this afternoon. A few minutes ago, I got a confirmation for a travel to Asia with my friends, and I'm so happy, because it just gives me so much energy. And this is kind of it was my celebration wins for the at least once a year or twice a year to go to another continent. And I think it's just great, and I give it a lot of attention now. I'm very careful. Every week on Sunday, I just allow myself to go to a cinema, to spend time with my friends, and I'm fully present and I'm fully enjoying those moments like never before, and I'm having much more fun. It's just because I allow it to myself. And then, you know, then I work during the week. The week times for me is like, okay, try to work on your goals. But I'm, thanks to the challenge here and the celebrations, I'm enjoying it much more fully, and it's great. And I think many people don't, and they don't allow, even in the accountability group, you know, they're doing things, you know, I accomplished this. Did you celebrate? Did you do anything nice? And no, not really. I didn't have time. I have too much on my goals. No. Right. Well, for me, I changed, and it's actually just today, because I booked this. It gives me so much energy now, even to be even more effective, to work even more now towards my goals, because I have less time, but I have these nice things waiting for me. So yeah, it's very powerful, and I think
very nice.
We shouldn't forget it.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. Is that, you know, celebrating, just if it is time with your friends, if it is to go on a trip, and all those things can then reinforce so many of your other categories in the process too. It's a celebration and movement at the same time. So that's fantastic.
And getting a massage, etc., and I combine it, you know, with my kind of beauty goals as well. But it just relaxes me, and yeah, it's important. It motivates me. I recommend to everybody.
I do too. And like I said, this celebration concept of knowing what our wins are, it's easy to beat ourselves up for all the things that we didn't do, because it's easy. I think on one of the podcasts I listened to, they have said that bed is that magical place that you go to remember all the things you did not get done for the day. It's like, that's one of the things that I've wanted to change, is let's actually take inventory of the things that we're doing, because that then boosts our confidence, it boosts our competence, it actually boosts our self-image and our self-worth when we can actually see how much we've accomplished. And when we forget about that, I think it's how we live this 12 categories from our life, is by really enjoying the process, and that starts the celebration. So thank you for sharing that with us, Hannah. So we're about 40 minutes in, and we've got a few more minutes left, and I don't want to just fill up time, but I do want to get some feedback on kind of how this lands for each of you. Is there a place where you want to then apply more celebration in your life, like Anna just talked about, where it's easy to get so much in the doing, but we are human beings, and I feel that we're actually are being human when we're celebrating rather than doing. So how I know that I'm growing is knowing the lessons that are passed on, as well as if there's a better way for me to present this information so that people can resonate with it better. So I'm open to any feedback that you may have on what was missing, what was good, what was horrible, what was fantastic. Is there anything that actually would be a takeaway that you'd actually bring from this to the rest of your week and the rest of your month?
If I can ask, I would like to ask a question about celebrations, because on the challenge, it's, I think, Alex who shared his celebrations for every day, every week, every month, every whatever year, and it inspired me a lot. But I wanted to ask you, the others as well, what are your celebrations for a day? Because Alex, I remember he said that he looks at the mirror and he says, like, good job in the morning or something like this. And I'm just wondering, I try to smile to myself and love myself in the mirror without makeup, etc. But I would like to get a bit more inspiration, because I have a big list to do every day. But then how can I any ideas, how do you celebrate your achievements of the day?
So for me personally, I use a gratitude practice. There's 3 things that I write down and I put into my journaling system that I'm grateful for, and at least one of those is something I'm grateful for about myself. It's a requirement. So yes, it's grateful for family and connection, but it's also then the aspects of me that I bring to the world. That's one way that I bring that celebration to it. Another practice that I've done as well is, it's from Lisa Nichols. She actually has a quest on Mind Valley called Speak and Inspire. And her homework every single day during the quest is to, in the mirror, say 7 things that you're proud of yourself for, 7 things that you forgive yourself for, and 7 things that you commit to yourself to. And I've had at least one of my coaching clients actually do that on a smaller scale. It's just one of those things each day, so that you actually are acknowledging yourself for what you're doing. And that can be a very powerful tool to use, because you are, as you said, do it in the mirror, but without makeup on, just you as yourself.
Yeah, in the morning looking even badly, not whatever, not the best form sometimes, but yeah, loving ourselves as we are.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So it looks like Anna's also has mentioned that she does the Lisa Nichols activity. And Sandy, did you have something for us?
Yes, I do. Hi, Anna.
Hello.
I do 5 gratitude sentences at night, but the last one is, what is a magical thing that happened to me today?
Nice.
I like that. I might have to add it to my my template for my journal. I like that one. Very much so.
Well, thank you. Maybe just some, I don't know if I don't take too much time, but maybe you can share your celebrations as well, just generally. How often do you celebrate and how did you get with the ideas how to celebrate? That would be interesting as well.
So for me, the things that I tend to celebrate, it looks like we have someone here too who's written in the chat. It's Anna. But I'll go ahead and share first. For me, is the things that I tend to celebrate is making those goals, and it tends to be time with my wife. Is we actually then just take that time to connect, and that is certainly one of my goals as well. But it's that celebration tends to be I'm done with my goals for the day, and I'm not adding on one more thing. I have a tendency to add on one more thing all the time. So, and that tends to be more of my celebration, is I'm thankful that I'm completed with my stuff for the day. It's now time for me to reconnect with me, to reconnect with my wife and with my family. So that tends to be kind of the daily ritual for me around that is, okay, I'm done. On a weekly scale, it tends to be more around giving myself that extra hour of sleep, because once again, I tend to commit to a lot. So 5.5 to 6 hours of sleep tends to be the norm. So, but I know that I'm better off whenever I get 7.5 to 8. So that's kind of the reward that I give to myself, is that extra time for self-connection. Anna, did you want to share yours live here?
Well, it's just a summary of actually what I realized is that the Lisa Nichols activity is more like a summary of what we discussed today. So basically, when you say I'm proud of, you're celebrating your wins, and you're just repeating what went well. When you say I forgive myself for, you're actually learning from your mistakes, right? You're saying this is what went wrong. This is what didn't go well. These are the mistakes, and this is what I'm learning. And I forgive myself for making the mistake, but I'm also happy that I'm learning something. And the last part is you're applying the knowledge that you gain throughout the day to improve your systems and your rituals and your life. That with the question, what can I improve? Or with the Lisa Nichols activity where she says, I commit to, right? When you say I commit to do something, it means you want to apply what you learned for the next day. And the way I do this is I do the activity in the morning, right? When I wake up, and I actually look in the mirror without makeup and probably sleepy eyes. And I say, good morning, beautiful. And then I do this activity. And what I'm doing with this in the morning is I'm just celebrating my being, because I haven't done anything yet. I just woke up. I'm just celebrating my being. And I'm proud of myself for who I am, even if I don't do anything. It's a very hard thing that I learned this year, because I'm an achiever, as Michael was saying. If I don't do something, I feel awkward. And that's how I've been feeling these past 2 days, because I was taking care of the house in Qatar, and now I'm back in Lebanon and my mom's doing everything. I'm like, okay, I feel awkward. I need to be doing something, kind of thing. So I'm learning and teaching myself to celebrate who I am, not what I've done. And then at the end of the day, I use the same questions, but this time I'm actually reviewing what I've done, the actions that I took. And if you remember, throughout this series, what we mentioned was that basically we are human beings, and we need to be present and enjoy the moment. And the only time we need to take action is just to get away from discomfort, right? Whether that discomfort is now or it's a future discomfort. So this is something I mentioned in a previous workshop where I said, you might be healthy and comfortable today, but you can't be lazy because you want to eliminate that discomfort in the future. So you want to go exercise so you're fit for the future. You want to make sure that, for example, I'm happy with my job and I make a lot of money. But what if when I retire, what will I do? So that's why we have goals and projects and we take action today. As long as that action has purpose, that's when we take action. If not, we're just human beings, and it's okay to just be and be present and enjoy. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Anna, for that. I appreciate it. So I challenge everyone to choose something that you're going to celebrate in the next week. We're just starting off the week now, and look for those things to celebrate throughout the week. Once again, if it could be acknowledgement to someone else of thank you so much for showing up for me. It could be in that gratitude practice. It could be in an exercise you're doing in the mirror, or journaling, write a love letter to yourself. There's all kinds of different ways that you can share this appreciation and reward yourself. Sometimes for some of my clients, I also have them write down their wins on a piece of paper and then put them into a jar, a mug, something, and then see as those wins actually stack up, because we accomplish more than we actually give ourselves credit for. And maybe set yourself a reward, like Anna was talking about, a trip to another continent if they fill that jar with their wins. Set yourself up to work towards that goal. Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate you spending time listening to us and the feedback that you're giving and sharing your processes here, because this is, once again, life as a team sport. Thank you, Marcia and Natalie and Nadia and Anna and Sandy. I think we had Leon was here a little bit earlier, and a Lillian. So thank you everyone for showing up on this time, or whatever time zone you're in. We appreciate you for being here. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Michael. And thanks everyone who's watching the recording. We hope to hear from you as well. So this week, as Michael said, if you have any wins, do share them in the comment section of this event. Write them down, let us know. And yeah, hopefully we will have another session. I'll send you messages in a few weeks where we want to celebrate your success with this challenge. I want to hear from you, your feedback about the entire challenge. How did the decluttering help you? How did the planning help you? How did taking action help you? And how did these celebrations change your life? So thank you so much for being part of this month, this year, and giving us, myself, Eric, and Michael, the chance to guide you through this challenge. Let's have a wonderful rest of our year.